My fiancée let her parents mock my late mother before our wedding, so I did something no one expected. My name's Michael. 34. Project manager. I was born and raised in a working-class neighborhood with a toolbox in one hand and my single mom's stubborn love in the other. I've never been flashy. I don't need Michelin stars or wine lists I can't pronounce. Just give me honesty, good people, and a solid laugh. That's always been enough. Then came Lydia. Lydia was the kind of woman who made people stop in their tracks. Blue sundress, that kind of summer wind smile, which sharp enough to carve glass. We met 6 years ago at a cookout. She roasted my hot dogs and me in one breath, and somehow I fell for her on the spot. What started as flirty banter turned into beach weekends, takeout marathons, sitcom binges, and eventually me down on one knee in front of the woman I thought I'd grow old with. I thought she was the one. And for a while she played the part like she was born for it. Yeah? Now I know I was engaged in an illusion. At first, Lydia was everything you'd want someone to be: clever, social, magnetic. She could charm your entire friend group in under 10 minutes. She had this confidence that pulled people in like a damn tractor beam. We synced, laughed, dreaming out loud, and I ignored all the warning signs. Her parents, Jack and Donna? Walking red flags dressed in designer clothes. They ran a restaurant in town, high-end, always name-dropping chefs and clientele. Jack's the kind of guy who thinks telling you how great he is a conversation. Donna? If I didn't compliment her outfit within 0.3 seconds, I'd get that pursed lip stare that made me feel like I'd tracked mud on her marble floors. I thought, okay, they're just intense. It'll balance out. Spoiler, it didn't. My mom, Patricia, God rest her soul, was a saint in jeans and garden gloves. That woman gave and gave to strangers, to friends, to people who treated her like dirt, and she never asked for anything back. When Jack and Donna's restaurant nearly crashed and burned, guess who co-signed their lifeline loan? Mom. When their oven died mid-holiday season, who bought them a new one? Mom. They barely thanked her. And my mom? She just smiled and said, helping is what we do. She passed 2 years ago. Cancer. Fought it like a warrior with a halo. Even in the end, she was checking if I'd eaten and had enough blankets. Her light dimmed and I carried the grief like a weighted vest. Lydia said she was there for me. She said the words. But it was like hugging a mannequin. Cold comfort, no heart. Any time I tried to include Mom in the wedding flowers she loved, a quote she adored, Lydia would stiffen. This isn't a memorial, it's a wedding, she'd hiss. Like honoring my mother was a burden. It hurt. But I bit my tongue. Again. And again. Things got worse leading up to the rehearsal dinner. Jack and Donna insisted on hosting it at some Michelin-starred showboat of a restaurant. Their gift, they said. Right? A gift wrapped in ego and dipped in passive aggression. And when I walked into that place, it felt like walking into an ambush. Only 5 or 6 people were from my side. The rest were Lydia's elite circle and her parents' rich cronies. I asked her, what gives? And she shrugged. Your side's small. Don't make it a big deal. But it was a big deal. I was invisible at my own damn rehearsal dinner. Then came the speeches. Jack took the mic and gave a glowing eulogy for Lydia. Childhood trophies, scholarships, internships. And me? Well, we all have an image of who our children should marry, but love is love. Translation, she settled. Donna chimed in with her velvet dagger tone. He's from a humbler background, but we appreciate his willingness to adapt. And just when I thought it couldn't get lower, Jack dropped the hammer. Let's not forget someone who isn't here. Michael's mother, Patricia. Quite the force, wasn't she? Donna added, always inserting herself. But she meant well. I guess. My hands clenched under the table. I felt like I was going to vibrate out of my seat. And Lydia? Just smiled. Awkward, forced, but didn't say a damn word in my defense. I stood. The chair screeched like a banshee. And I said, through gritted teeth, are you serious right now? Everyone froze. The show had just begun. The second I stood up, the room snapped quiet. Every fork froze midair, every wine glass halfway raised. Lydia looked up at me with this half-smile like she thought I was going to make a speech or toast her parents or do something predictable. But I wasn't in the mood for predictable. I'm sorry, I said, loud and clear. Did I just hear my late mother get disrespected at my own rehearsal dinner? Silence. Donna blinked like I'd spoken a foreign language. Jack cleared his throat. Son, it was a light-hearted remembrance. No need to overreact. Overreact? My blood was boiling so hard I could taste metal. You said she inserted herself. Like she wasn't the woman who saved your business. Who bought you a new oven? Who gave you a loan when your staff walked out? You don't get to rewrite history just because she's not here to defend herself. Lydia finally spoke. Michael, please. Not here. Not now. I turned to her. That's it? That's all you have to say? Her jaw tightened. It's a party. They didn't mean it like that. Let's not make a scene. Let's not make a scene. Right? Because God forbid her Instagram perfect night gets interrupted by some inconvenient truth. I looked at every single one of them, her friends, her family, the people sipping overpriced cocktails and smirking like I was being dramatic, and I felt like I was in a room full of strangers. I leaned into the mic. My mother was more family than half the people in this room. And if you think I'm going to sit here while her memory gets dragged so you can all feel superior in your little country club fantasy, think again. Gasps. Glares. Lydia's face turned red, but not from embarrassment, no. From fury. She hissed, "You're ruining this." "No," I said. "You ruined it the moment you let them disrespect the only person who ever loved me without conditions." Then I walked out. Straight out the doors, past the valet who looked like he wanted to vanish, past the rows of smugly parked luxury cars. I didn't even grab my coat. I didn't know where I was going. But I knew I wasn't going to be that man, the one who swallows disrespect just to keep the peace. Not anymore. I crashed at my cousin Daryl's place that night. His couch was lumpy, his toddler woke me up at 5:30 a.m. with cereal in her hair, and you know what? It felt more like home than that entire damn dinner ever did. Lydia didn't text me that night. Didn't call. Didn't even check in. She sent one text the next morning. "We need to talk. Please come home." Home. Was it still that? I showed up at our apartment later that afternoon. She was there, pacing in yoga pants, hair tied up like this was just another day. "Michael," she said, "you embarrassed me in front of everyone." I shut the door behind me slowly. "You stood there while they trashed my mother. And you smiled. They didn't trash her. They were just being themselves." I stared at her. "And you didn't flinch." She softened. "I didn't think it would affect you this much. It was just banter." "You know what banter is?" "Something said with love." "That was my mockery. And your silence made you part of it." She exhaled like I was the child. "Okay, maybe they went too far. But it's their way. You know they're blunt." I stepped closer. "No, they're cruel. And you chose not to defend me." Again. She paused. "So what now? Are you calling off the wedding?" I didn't answer right away. But I was thinking about it. Hard. I didn't answer her question. "Are you calling off the wedding?" I just walked past her and sat down on the edge of our bed, the one I used to feel safe in. Now it just felt like another prop in the show she was directing. "Michael," she tried again, her voice all breathy and fake calm. "You're overreacting. This isn't something we can't fix." "Fix?" I laughed. Bitter. "I'm not a plumbing issue. You don't get to tighten a few screws and pretend everything's working." She crossed her arms. "You're acting like I insulted your mother. You didn't have to. You let everyone else do it while you played dumb." Her tone flipped to fast. "I'm sorry, I didn't make a scene at my own rehearsal dinner. I was trying to keep the peace." "No," I said, standing. "You were trying to keep the image. You cared more about looking composed in front of your snooty friends than standing up for the woman who helped your parents when no one else would." That hit. I saw it. But instead of apologizing, she doubled down. "My parents are who they are. I can't change that." "You don't have to change them," I said, "but you could have chosen to be better than them. You didn't. You stood there and let me bleed out in silence." She didn't say anything. Just stared at the wall like it might offer a better conversation than I was. The next 2 days were a Cold War. No flowers. No tearful speeches. No rom-com redemption arc. Just ice. Our apartment was a minefield of unspoken things. I slept on the couch. Lydia walked around like a ghost in silk robes and slippers. She had this air of wounded royalty, like I had somehow committed the greater offense. But I was the one betrayed. And then came the slip-up. I came home from a walk. Needed air. Thought I'd clear my head. She didn't hear me walk in. She was on the phone speaker mode, talking to her cousin Olivia. "I don't know, Liv," she said, pacing barefoot across the hardwood. "He's so sensitive. I didn't ask him to worship his mom like some saint. I'm not competing with a ghost." My heart dropped. Olivia laughed. "God, you poor thing. And you were going to marry that mess." "I still might," Lydia said. "But he's got to get it together. It's not like his mom was perfect. She was kind of a control freak. Always hovering." I stepped forward. She turned. And froze. My voice was low. Too calm. "You said you loved her." Lydia's face paled. "Michael, you said you admired her. That you'd always be there for me. You lied. It was just venting. I didn't mean it like that." "No," I said. "You meant every word. That wasn't venting. That was how you really talk when I'm not around." She reached for my arm. "Please don't make this bigger than it is." I pulled back. "I'm done pretending it's small." And that night I packed a bag. I went back to Daryl's. He didn't even ask what happened. Just handed me a beer and nodded like, "Yeah, man, we all saw it coming." The next morning, I made a call I never thought I'd have to make. The venue, the caterer, the florist, the tailor. Cancel the wedding. Every one of them gave me the same shocked pause. But I didn't flinch. Lydia had wanted a husband. She just didn't want one who paid attention. Too bad. I was wide awake now. Calling off a wedding isn't like canceling a dinner reservation. It's emotional napalm. The moment I hit send on those emails, venue, caterer, photographer, I could practically hear the whispers starting. One by one, replies came back. Confusion, condolences, and a few, "Is everything okay?" Texts from people who definitely didn't care if everything was okay. The real panic started when Lydia's parents found out. Jack called me before I could block his number. What is the meaning of this? He barked. You're humiliating our daughter. We've already paid for half this damn wedding. I let him finish yelling. Then said, consider it a discount on your character development. Click. Donna followed up with a group email to both families. Michael is experiencing a breakdown due to unresolved grief and has chosen to postpone the wedding. We ask for privacy during this difficult time. A breakdown? Ma'am, I wasn't having a breakdown. I was having a breakthrough. So I did what any self-respecting, insulted, emotionally scorched man would do. I wrote my email. And I CC'd every single person invited to the wedding. Dear family and friends, I want to clarify that the wedding has not been postponed. It has been cancelled. Permanently. The decision was made after discovering that my fiancée, Lydia, and her family do not share the same values of respect and integrity that I was raised on. Especially regarding my late mother, whose memory was repeatedly disrespected. I refuse to enter a marriage where loyalty is selective and cruelty is excused as just who we are. Thank you for your understanding. Michael. The inbox blew up. Half the guests sent supportive replies. Aunts and cousins I hadn't heard from in years suddenly found time to say, proud of you. Lydia's bridesmaids? Silent. Ghosted me like I'd caught a disease. But that wasn't even the juicy part. The real show happened on what was supposed to be the wedding day. My best friend Nate had a wild idea. Bro, he said, you already paid for that tux. Let's use it. So we did. Instead of sulking at home, I suited up. Nate and my cousin Daryl rented out a local brewery. Open invite. No gifts. Just beer, burgers, and emotional support in the form of nachos. And guess what? People showed up. Dozens. Even the DJ showed. We turned that day into a celebration of freedom. Freedom from fakery. From pretending. From the slow poison of trying to fit into someone else's mold. I gave a speech too. Today was supposed to be my wedding. Instead, it's my wake-up call. I want to thank everyone who showed up. Not just tonight, but throughout this whole mess. You saw me, believed me, and stood by me when it got ugly. So here's to the truth, to boundaries, and to never settle for silence again. Applause. Cheers. Even a few tears. And Lydia? Oh, she showed up too. Yeah. Halfway through the night, dressed in full makeup and fury, Lydia stormed in. You're making a mockery of me, she hissed. Of everything we built. I turned to her calmly. No, Lydia. I'm making a mockery of the mask you wore. And now that it's off, everyone finally sees what was underneath. She stormed out. The crowd exploded. Best non-wedding ever. You'd think after torching a wedding and publicly humiliating your ex, the emotional cleanup would be easy. It's not. Don't get me wrong. My sleep improved instantly. I wasn't tossing and turning anymore, replaying Lydia's voice on a loop. But the aftermath? That's a different beast. People started choosing sides. Some of Lydia's friends reached out in secret. I never liked how she talked about your mom. Honestly, she was a nightmare behind closed doors. Too little, too late. But hey, validation is validation. Meanwhile, Lydia spun a fresh narrative online. Instagram post perfectly filtered. Camera with flash, photo of her holding champagne, captioned, when life reroutes you, it's just pushing you toward better destinations. Dizzy. Comments were a mix of you go, girl, and what happened? She didn't name me, but her stories were full of shade. Some men just can't handle strong women. Grief isn't a personality. I wanted to be the bigger person. But then karma handed me a gift. Remember Olivia? The cousin Lydia had trash-talked with on speakerphone? Well, turns out Olivia had a conscience. Or maybe just a grudge. She sent me screenshots. Lydia's private group chat with her bridesmaids. Let's just say it was savage. Michael's sweet but so basic. He thinks honoring his mom makes him deep. This whole wedding is a charity project. Donna keeps calling it her good deed of the year. If he ever talks about his mom again, I'll scream. She's not here. Get over it. I stared at the screen like it was burning through my hand. Every suspicion I'd had confirmed. I forwarded it to myself. Then to Daryl. Then, almost on instinct, to Lydia's old college friend, Tasha. Tasha was the opposite of Lydia. Loyal, loud, and allergic to a bull. She posted those screenshots anonymously on a local wedding shaming forum. Tagged, Bridezilla exposed, local story, small town scandal. It went viral. People put two and two together really fast. Lydia's Insta comments? Went from hearts to pitchforks. This you. Wow, guess Michael dodged a missile. Yikes. Hope the refund policy on that karma is generous. Lydia went dark online. For the first time, she disappeared. Me? I was breathing easier. I hit the gym again. Reconnected with old friends. Started reading books that weren't about wedding planning or conflict avoidance. Nate took me on a fishing trip. We barely caught anything, but for the first time in months, I laughed until I couldn't breathe. One night, Daryl asked me, "So, any thoughts about dating again?" I rolled my eyes. My last fiancé used my passed-away mother as punchline material. Let's not rush into the sequel. But I was starting to feel lighter. Healing wasn't loud or fast. It was quiet. Steady. It looked like walks at sunset instead of fights over floral centerpieces. It looked like finally seeing my mom in dreams again, not sick in a hospital bed, but laughing in the backyard with her garden hose. It looked like me finally whole again. A full month passed. 30 quiet, beautiful days. No arguments. No tension. No pretending. Just me learning how to live again without walking on eggshells. I'd almost started believing the chaos was behind me until the past showed up, dressed in heels, and carrying an apology. Lydia. She didn't text. She didn't call. She showed up. At my building. I had just gotten back from the grocery store, earbuds in, humming to myself like someone who hadn't been publicly humiliated. And there she was, leaning against the front entrance like a tragic movie character. "Michael," she said like she hadn't scorched the earth behind her. "Can we talk?" I stared at her for a full 10 seconds. Not speaking. Just letting the silence remind her I didn't owe her anything anymore. She launched into it anyway. "I messed up. I know I did. I didn't defend you. I didn't respect your mom. And I should have stopped my parents, but I raised my hand." "No. You chose not to stop them. That wasn't fear. That was alignment." Her eyes filled with tears. Real or rehearsed, I couldn't tell. And honestly, I didn't care. She sniffled. "I've been humiliated. People at work saw those screenshots. I lost 2 clients. Everyone thinks I'm some monster. And why do you think that is?" I asked. She hesitated. "Because." I said things I didn't mean. Wrong answer. I laughed. Short. Sharp. "No. You said what you meant, you just never thought it would come back to bite you. This isn't about your job, Lydia. This is about your soul." She winced. "I want to fix this." "You can't." That stopped her cold. "I loved you," I said. "But I loved someone who doesn't exist. A version of you. One that never mocked my grief, never lied behind my back, never treated me like a charity case you were upgrading." She stepped forward. "Michael, please." "Don't," I said. "There's nothing left to rebuild." Then I turned and walked inside. Closure didn't come with fireworks. It came with a soft click of the door. That night, I pulled out the last thing I hadn't been able to touch since the fallout. My mom's journal. Patricia used to write everything down, quotes she loved, thoughts on the garden, even recipes she never actually made. I opened to a page marked with a dried petal. "Your peace is not a favor you give others. It's a gift you keep for yourself." I cried. Quietly. Fully. Not for Lydia. Not even for the wedding that never was. For my mom. And for finally living in a world where her voice mattered again. The next morning, I started a new journal. Not hers. Not Lydia's. Mine. 6 weeks post-non-wedding, and for the first time in years, I woke up without heaviness in my chest. Not because I had some new flame lighting up my phone. Not because I was winning any breakup competition. But because I had something no one could fake or manipulate out of me again. Peace. Real peace. The kind that doesn't whisper, "Be careful, don't upset her." The kind that lets you laugh out loud without wondering if someone's rolling their eyes. I was alive again. I went back to my old coffee spot. The barista, Angela, blinked when she saw me. "Michael? Wow, you look lighter." "I'm free," I said without a hint of irony. I meant it. I even started reconnecting with the version of myself I had shelved for years. Guitar, DUI's style, but tuned. Sketchpad, once hidden in a drawer, is now open on my desk. I wasn't rebuilding. I was reinventing. Then came the wedding invite. No, not from Lydia. Please. Even hell has standards. From Nate, my best friend. The guy who handed me a beer the night I canceled my wedding and said, "You're better off, man." He and his girlfriend Tessa had gotten engaged quietly. No drama. No pretentious speeches. No mask. Just love. The invite came with a note. "You showed us how to do it right by walking away when it's wrong." I cried reading that. Because sometimes the biggest impact isn't in revenge. It's in surviving and inspiring. At the wedding, I gave the speech. Nate made me. "You've earned it," he said. I stood under a string of fairy lights, raised my glass, and spoke the words I wish someone had told me when I was still in the trenches. Love doesn't humiliate. It doesn't silence. It doesn't ask you to amputate parts of your soul just to keep the peace. It lifts. It protects. It shows up even when no one's watching. So here's to love that defends. To friends that pull you out of the fire. And to second chances, ones you give yourself. The crowd clapped. Tessa wiped a tear. Nate smirked and said, "Mic drop, bro." And me? I breathed. In. Out. Healed. Not perfect. Not naive. Just whole. And the whole is enough. So if you've ever felt like your pain was invisible, your worth overlooked, or your heart crushed by someone who wore a perfect face in public and a different one in private, let this be your sign. You can walk away. You can heal. You can choose peace over performance, and you'll still be standing when the mask hits the floor. So here's my question for you. Would you have canceled the wedding like Michael did? Or would you have tried to make it work? Let me know in the comments. Some betrayals deserve silence, but others don't. They deserve to be shared. Hope you enjoyed this story as much as I do. Help this small channel grow by hitting that like button, subscribing, and sharing with your friends. Every bit of support means the world. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.